Sometimes conflict can be a good thing, and sometimes conflict needs to escalate before a resolution can be reached. Let me unpack that for you. I'm Tiffany. I'm a mediator and restorative practices professional and a trainer and coach of all things conflict resolution. So what we are seeing coming out of Chicago is that the community is rising up against ICE agents. They are forming community coalitions. I even saw a report where people are exercising their Second Amendment rights and actually firing at ICE agents who are kidnapping members of their community. So sometimes conflict has to escalate. Now, even the law differentiates between intentional violence and self-defense. And so I am absolutely not an advocate of violence, but you absolutely do have the right to establish boundaries of what you are willing to accept. So what we see out of Chicago is actually the people are coming together because of this conflict. The communities are banding together and being strengthened by this conflict. And we're seeing this all over the country where we are heavily polarized and there are a lot of things in conflict. So when I'm teaching peacemaking skills, I'm not teaching for conflict to completely disappear. That is not a thing that exists. That is not a realistic expectation. What I teach is how to manage conflict in constructive ways. And sometimes what that means is communities banding together to put their foot down to say our community has these expectations and these standards for engagement. And if you want to be a part of our community, then we expect that you also abide by these expectations and these standards. That is something that people have the ability to do. So what we see coming out of Chicago is actually conflict may appear to be increasing, but what's actually happening is the initial conflict is the catalyst to building and strengthening communities. And only once those boundaries and expectations are established can the people involved have a conversation around what are we going to do now? How do we want to live our lives and what do we expect our community to be? And then that group can have a conversation about this is what we expect our community to be. And what we see coming out of Chicago is that community is all in agreement that they are not going to tolerate masked, unidentified, unmarked vehicles to kidnap people with impunity.